Appreciate y'all coming out. Happy to be here. Fourth year being the defensive coordinator here at Alabama with Coach Saban. Really excited about this group. You ask why? Because we've got a lot of good leaders, and this is kind of the first complete group that we recruited here at Alabama. So from top to bottom, offense and defense, they're kind of all our kids that you have a relationship with, that you recruited, you went in their homes, and I'm really excited about these guys because they got good attitude, and they're excited. So they're fun to coach. You know, a lot of great competition going on out there at a lot of positions, and we're trying to create depth through camp. And I think this is the first time that I've spoken to the media that it was so soon. We've only had 2 practices, and both the practices have been in shorts. So as you well know, football is not a game of shorts. So it's hard to measure a lot of things until we start pads popping and doing some things out there that should start today. But our obvious goal for the offseason is to improve in turnovers. We were 118th out of 120 in forcing fumbles. So when you look at the turnover stats, it's a little misleading because we had a lot of interceptions, but we did not force many fumbles. And that's usually indicative of big contact and people ripping the ball out. We got to improve in sacks and tackles for loss. That's one of the big goals, big emphasis for us this year. And I felt like we were really good in the red area last year, and that kind of saved a young defense. We had, 2 big turnovers against Florida. I think it was one big one against Arkansas, a big one against Tennessee. So we kind of saved ourselves in the red area by playing well and protected a young defense. And statistically, kind of overachieved, but in big games, we did not play as well as we should have and let ourselves down, and that's to be changed this year. We expect to have a better year this year. Any questions?
Dre Kirkpatrick is a guy that's getting a lot of national attention and early praise. What's changed about him since last season in terms of not just his on-field development, but what he's done kind of off the field in the locker room to kind of put himself in that type of a position?
I think it started around the bowl game with Dre. He did a really good job down in Orlando of focusing and concentrating and really practicing hard. I don't know if the light clicked on there, but I remember when we came back from the bowl game, I looked down in the weight room in early January, and he was in there working out. And I kind of thought, wow, it's a little out of character for him to be down there by himself when there's not a group down there and really working hard. So I think he's kind of bought into that, and he really wants to be a good player. And he's really got to continue to improve to be as good as he can be. But for 2 days, the lights turned on, and he's practiced hard. He had a decent spring, but he's a guy that's got to stay with it and always be that way and not kind of be on that roller coaster ride.
And just Mark Barron, the pectoral thing, Coach Saban says it doesn't appear to be an issue, but he hasn't, I guess to my knowledge, hasn't made a tackle yet. What have you seen from Mark, and how does he look to you?
I haven't even noticed it, to be honest with you, from fall camp. But again, I'm not over there, so I'm not with the DBs, and we haven't tackled yet. I would think that would start to show up today or the next day, that kind of thing. But I've seen no indications that it – I'd actually forgotten about it until you just mentioned it. So, we haven't seen it or noticed it.
Kirby, talk about the difference with Dont'a Hightower as compared to last year when he was just coming off that knee injury.
Yeah, big difference. I tell you, I tell him all the time, there was a point in time last year in camp where, he had 2 knee braces on and really struggled on loose plays, we call them, out in space. Had a hard time getting the backs on the ground, that kind of thing. And it was noticeable because it wasn't the Dont'a that we all knew. And throughout spring ball and even going into fall, we've only been in shorts, but he looks a lot faster, a lot quicker. He's changed his body a little bit. He's got a little lower body fat percentage. His weight's similar, but he has better composition, and he really got a good attitude. And I think he has more confidence in his leadership skills when he plays well, and he's playing well right now. He's got to continue to do that. But we're excited. I'm happy for Dont'a because it's hard on him because he knew that he wasn't playing as well as he could have last year.
Coach, you got some preseason accolades coming into this preseason camp. Do you anticipate, are the guys more focused and hungry after last year, and do you anticipate that there might be some guys that might not be as focused with some of these accolades, or do you feel like they're just as focused and hungry to make up for last year?
Tough question. I don't really I don't really know many of the preseason accolades, to be honest with you, because I don't pay attention to much of it. So I don't know exactly what you're referencing when you say that. But I'll say that they're hungry because some of them were embarrassed. Some of them didn't play as well as they should have last year, and they want to play better. And there's a lot of lessons that our guys learned last year, especially defensively, and we were a young team. So I expect them to grow up. And I assure you, if they're not hungry, that's our job to put it into them, and that's our plan to do that. So they've practiced 2 days like they're hungry. But it matters to me a lot more 15th, 16th day than the first two.
Michael, two guys last year, Courtney and Menzie, kind of suffering with nagging injuries all year. How good can they be when at full speed, and what have you seen so far?
Well, so far, you know, both of them have practiced well. Both of them are great kids. Both of them got great attitude. And I feel like Courtney has matured every year. You know, Quan, we've only seen really a fall and a spring. He wasn't with us prior to that. So both of them can develop, but the most important thing for us is to provide depth for them. So if something does happen to them, we've got somebody that can fill that role and fill it immediately and give us a sufficient backup. But both those kids got bright futures, and both of them are talented kids. They just got to stay injury-free, and I've seen no indication out there of injury.
A little bit about Mark Varian. He doesn't seem like the most vocal guy out there, but how have you seen him mature as a leader, and how good can he be in y'all's system?
Mark's a great kid. It brings a smile to my face to think about recruiting Mark. One of the first classes we recruited here, and I can remember recruiting him and telling him, you know, once he mastered this defense, that he was going to be a great player. And that's kind of happened. His first year, he kind of was learning it, and I can still remember the Utah game when we stuck him in there, and one of the first plays he went in, we ended up giving a touchdown pass, and he was so disappointed in himself because he'd worked so hard all year to play that dime position, that money position, and he's such a great kid. And to see how far he's come now, how much success he's had all the way through the national championship year, even to last year having a pretty good year, and then into this year. So I'm excited for Mark. He's a great person, and he is not a vocal leader, but trust me, they all listen when he speaks, and they all watch when he practices, which is important.
Other side of the defense, the defensive line, Coach Saban has talked a lot about they don't have maybe the proven playmaker, the Marcel Darius type. Do you see that, or do you see just a number of young, talented guys that y'all can keep that?
We certainly have to do it by committee. I'll say that. It's hard to say we've got a Marcel Darius type because you can coach a long time and never coach a guy that talented. So it's going to be done by committee. I hope, and I would like to think that we're going to have more depth this year. Only time will tell that. But we hope we can get it done through a different method by having a little more depth, playing some more guys, and hoping some guys step up because we've got to get some guys to step up at those positions.
Is there a quarterback on this defense like Rolando McClain was 2 years ago?
Sure. Dante Hightowers, he's the guy. And, you know, Mark's a little like that, but Dante's a little more vocal than Mark. And I certainly think Dante has the capability to do that and be that leader. And he wanted to be that last year. He just really never could get around to doing it because he wasn't 100%.
Coach, I know you said that you can only know so much being just in shorts so far, but Trey DePriest is a guy you got to see hit some in the spring. Talk about how he's looked, not just the last couple of days, but since he got to campus.
Trey's a great kid. He's gotten a little bigger. He's put on 5 or 10 pounds in the time he's been here. Very instinctive football player, which, you know, he finds the ball, makes a lot of plays on the ball, did that in the spring. He's got really good speed. And Trey has done a good job of being patient and trying to learn the defense and not getting frustrated, which some freshmen do. And he's got a great future ahead of him, keeps his head on straight, and we're really excited about Trey. You know, in the 2 days we've had him out there, he's a lot further along than the other freshmen, obviously, because he went through the 15 days of spring practice. So Trey has a great opportunity. He's got to slow down on some things. He's just so fast.
Two real quick.
Coach, I wanted to ask about the other cornerback, D. Milliner. Talk about his progress over that last season and then how you've seen him kind of develop even since.
Right. D's matured a lot. You know, we recruited D from down in Stanhope Elmore, and he had to grow up fast. He was forced to. He got thrown into the SEC and had to play early because of the situation we were in. and kind of trial by fire. And he has matured. He's learned how to deal with some things. He's got to continue to compete hard and fight for his job every day, because there's some great competition going on at corner, and nothing's going to be handed to anybody, Dre or him or DeQuan. They've got to compete for it, and that's kind of what we want. We want some competition there, and D's right in the middle of that, and has done a good job for 2 days. But like I said, it's hard to tell. It's going to tell a lot more on day 15 than day 2.
Coach, I know Alabama's listed as a 3-4 defense, but if you're watching the game, it seems to morph into other things quite a bit. But is there an advantage to being in a 3-4 to do that, and are any other advantages to?
You're asking if there's an advantage to being a 3-4 versus a 4-3, or advantage to change it up?
To go to a 3-4, having that ability to go to other looks.
Sure, sure. I think if you're just one thing in anything you do, it's kind of like war. You sit in the same place long enough, they're going to get you. If they know where you're going to be and you're predictable, they're going to get you. That's one thing that I will say. If you ask people, we are unpredictable, and we're hard to figure out for an offense. So we like going from 3-4 to 4-3 to other defenses and confusing people, and that's why we get some of the turnovers we get, interceptions we get. They're not real sure, and when they're real sure of things, they can kind of plan on them and attack you in certain areas. So we like to be multiple and do those things.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.